Hello everyone, my name is Murthy. Today I'll be talking about how to reverse a linked list. Here we have a basic linked list structure. 3 nodes, the last one points to a null pointer so that we can know when the list is ended. And then finally we have a head pointer which points to the first element of the list so we can start traversing the list. Now what we want to do is we want to reverse this list. So for this, we want to iterate through every element of the list and set its next pointer, or every node's next pointer, to the previous node. So we can imagine each node of the list is just it's a struct or a class, and it has just one field, and that's a node pointer to the next node in the list. Something like this, right? So all we need to do is we need to set this next to the previous element instead, and that will reverse the list if done to all the nodes. So let's clear this. What do we want to do? First, we want to have a variable that will iterate through this entire list. So we can have this node pointer, and we can call this, that's a star. We can call this cur, right? Now, this cur will iterate through the list. So we can do this using a loop. What loop should we choose? Well, we could do a for loop, but we don't know the length of this list, right, necessarily. And if we're not provided the length of this list, we can't use a for loop. So we have to use a while loop in the general case. Now, the condition of the while loop, if we're looping through this array, and if we're setting cur to each element of this array in turn, how do we know when we've reached the end of the linked list? Well, it's when cur reaches null, right? The list ends when you reach null, and cur is iterating through all of the nodes in the list, and therefore when cur hits null, we've reached the end of the list. Therefore, for the condition, we can do while cur is not equal to null. Do whatever. Right? So this will cause the list to stop, or this will cause the loop to stop when we've reached the end of the linked list. Now, inside this, what do we want to do? We want to assign each node's next pointer to the previous element. Now, the problem is that we don't actually know what the previous element is. We can't find out what this is because there's only pointers going forward. There's nothing going back. So for this, we need to keep track of the previous element. So just like we have this node pointer pointing to the current element, we also need to have another node pointer defined up here, and we'll call it prev, right? And so what do we set these to? Well, first we can set cur. Let me just delete this little thing here. We can set cur to head, right? So it starts at the start of the list, and we can set prev to null. So what's before the first element of the list, there's nothing, so we'll set it to null. But this will take the value of the previous node, the one before the current node. So while cur is not equal to null, then we can perform our operation at each step. And our operation is simply cur dot next equals prev. We are simply reassigning the next pointer of the current element, or the current node, to the previous element instead of what it currently is, which is the next element. Now this is all fine and dandy, but what this does is this makes it impossible to access this next element. The only way we could access that was through cur.next, and we've reassigned that. So we need to store that value. So we can have another variable. We'll call it a node pointer, and we'll call it next. And we'll set that to cur.next. So we basically stored the value of cur.next. We've stored this next node. And so then we can reassign cur.next to prev. Then we need to move everything forward by 1. So we can set prev equals cur, and cur equals next. And what this will do is this will advance both the prev and the cur pointers by 1 in the linked list. And so in the next iteration of this while loop, we can do the same process of reversal to the next element. So if we were here, now we'd be here, and we'd be reversing this element instead. Now, at the end of this, we will end up with the cur element pointing at null, and then the prev element pointing at the one before null. So the final step is to reassign head to the first element of the new list. It won't be cur, because cur is not pointing at null. It'll instead be prev, because prev is pointing to the former last element, but now the first element. So that's the final step. After the end of the list, we assign head equals prev. And that's it. We reverse the linked list. Thank you, everyone.